The Deep Space Monitoring Station on Luna had been quiet for 3 weeks. Hyun-woo sat in the captain's chair of the UES Indomitable, reading reports that all said the same thing: nothing happening. Space was big and mostly empty, which made his job boring most of the time. Then the alarm started screaming. "Captain!" Jae-hoon called from the communications station. His face was pale as he stared at his screens. "We're getting something strange. It's not from any human ship." Hyun-woo stood up fast. In his 10 years of commanding starships, alien contact was still just a dream. Earth had been sending signals into space for decades, but nobody had ever answered back. Until now. "Put it on the main screen," Hyun-woo ordered. The bridge went quiet as strange sounds filled the air. It wasn't music, but it wasn't just noise either. The sounds seemed to have patterns, like someone trying very hard to speak a language they barely knew. Yoon-ji, the ship's science officer, was already working at her station. "Captain, the computer is trying to translate this. It's using the universal standard protocols we developed, but the speaker seems to be having trouble with our language." "Can you clean it up?" Hyun-woo asked. "Working on it now?" Yoon-ji's fingers moved fast across her controls. "The signal is coming from outside our solar system, way outside. This has traveled for years to reach us." The sounds on the speakers slowly became clearer. Words started to form, spoken in a voice that didn't sound quite human. "Help. Please help. We are dying. The darkness comes. It eats everything." The bridge crew looked at each other. Jun-ho, the tactical officer, frowned at his weapons display. "Could be a trap, Captain. We don't know anything about who sent this." "Keep listening," Hyun-woo said. He had a feeling. This was important. The alien voice continued, getting clearer as Yoon-ji improved the translation. "We are the Vellani. Our worlds are being consumed. 12 great civilizations have tried to stop the darkness. All have failed. We do not ask for rescue. We only wish someone to know we existed. The void swarm cannot be stopped." The message repeated several times, then went silent. "Void swarm." Tae-min, the chief engineer, looked up from his station. "That doesn't sound good." Hyun-woo sat, back down in his chair, thinking hard. This was the moment humanity had been waiting for. First contact with aliens. But they weren't asking for a meeting or trade. They were saying goodbye. "Yoon-ji, how far away did this come from?" "About 47 light years, Captain. The Kepler 442 system. And they said 12 civilizations tried to stop this void swarm?" "That's what it sounded like, sir." Hyun-woo pressed a button on his chair. "Get me Admiral So-young at Luna Command. Priority channel." The Admiral's face appeared on the screen within minutes. So-young had been expecting this call. Word traveled fast in the space fleet, and every monitoring station in the solar system had picked up the alien signal. "Captain Hyun-woo," the Admiral said, "I assume you're calling about our new friends." "Yes, ma'am. What are your orders?" So-young was quiet for a moment. Behind her, Hyun-woo could see the busy command center on Luna. People were running around, and other officers were talking in urgent voices. "This is what we've been preparing for," she finally said. "Humanity's first contact with alien life, but they're not asking us to come shake hands. They're warning us about something that has destroyed 12 other civilizations." "Do we know anything else about this void swarm?" Hyun-woo asked. "Our scientists are working on it. From what we can tell, it's some kind of force that consumes entire star systems. The aliens, the Vellani, they seem to think it's impossible to fight." Jun-ho spoke up. "Ma'am, if 12 advanced civilizations couldn't stop this thing, what makes us think we can?" So-young smiled. It wasn't a happy smile, but it wasn't afraid either. "Officer Jun-ho, those 12 civilizations didn't have something we have." "What's that, Admiral?" "They weren't from Earth." Hyun-woo understood immediately. Earth was different from most planets. It was dangerous. Humans had to fight for everything: food, shelter, safety. Other worlds might be peaceful places where life was easy, but Earth had taught humanity how to survive impossible things. "Admiral," Hyun-woo said, "are you ordering us to respond to this distress call?" "I'm ordering you to prep the Indomitable for immediate departure. We're going to meet these Vellani and see what this void swarm is all about." "Ma'am, they specifically said not to try to rescue them. They said it was impossible." So-young's smile got bigger. Captain, has anyone ever told you that something was impossible? Yes, ma'am, many times. And what did you do? I did it anyway. Exactly. Get your crew ready. You leave in 6 hours. The connection ended, and Hyun-woo looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at him, waiting for orders. You heard the Admiral, he said. Tae-min, I want the engines checked and ready for long distance travel. Yoonji, gather everything you can about the Villani and this void swarm. Junho, prep all weapon systems. Jae-hoon, send a message back to the Villani. Tell them help is coming. What should the message say exactly? Jae-hoon asked. Hyun-woo thought about it. Tell them that Earth received their distress call. Tell them we know they said not to come. Tell them we're coming anyway. Sir, should I mention that we're from a death world? What's a death world? Yoonji asked. Jae-hoon pulled up some files on his screen. It's what other species call planets like Earth, worlds where survival is hard and dangerous. Most aliens come from peaceful planets where nothing tries to kill them every day. Huh, Taemin said. That explains a lot about humans. Don't mention the death world thing yet, Hyun-woo decided. Let's meet them first. We can explain about Earth later. Over the next few hours, the Indomitable became busy with preparations. The ship was Earth's most advanced vessel, designed for long exploration missions. It had powerful engines, strong shields, and enough weapons to fight a small war. More importantly, it had a crew that had been trained to handle the unexpected. Hyun-woo walked through the ship, checking on his people. In the engine room, Tae-min was running tests on the faster-than-light drive. How long to reach the Villani system? Hyun-woo asked. About 2 weeks if we push the engines hard, Tae-min replied, assuming this void swarm doesn't move too fast. In the science labs, Yoonji was studying everything Earth's telescopes had ever seen of the Kepler 442 system. Captain, this is interesting. The Villani system used to have 8 planets. Now our scans only show 6. The void swarm ate 2 planets. Looks like it. And Captain, whatever this thing is, it's big. Really big. In the weapons bay, Junho was checking every gun and missile on the ship. Sir, I have to ask, if 12 civilizations with better technology than us couldn't stop this thing, what's our plan? I don't know yet, Hyun-woo admitted. But I have a feeling that whatever this void swarm is, it's never fought humans before. Is that good or bad? We'll find out. 6 hours later, the Indomitable left Earth's solar system, heading toward a species they had never met to fight an enemy they didn't understand. The crew was nervous but excited. This was what they had trained for their whole lives. As the ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, Hyun-woo sat in his captain's chair and thought about the alien message. The Villani had sounded scared but also sad, like they had already given up. 12 civilizations had tried and failed to stop the void swarm, but those 12 civilizations had never met humans. They didn't know that Earth's children had learned to see impossible challenges not as reasons to give up, but as reasons to try harder. The void swarm was about to learn something new about the universe. It was about to meet Deathworlders. 2 weeks of traveling through space had made the crew restless. Hyun-woo could see it in the way they moved around the ship, checking and double-checking everything. They were ready to arrive, ready to meet aliens, ready to see what this void swarm was all about. Dropping out of faster than light in 10 seconds, announced Bo-ra from the navigation station. All stations ready, Hyun-woo called out. Let's see what we're dealing with. The stars stopped streaking past the windows and became normal points of light. In front of them was a solar system unlike anything Earth's telescopes had ever seen, clearly. The star was brighter than the sun, and the planets seemed to sparkle like jewels. Captain, Yoonji said, her voice full of wonder, I'm picking up artificial structures throughout the system. These aren't just planets. They're covered. In cities? What kind of cities? Hyun-woo asked. I'm not sure. They look like they're made of crystal and light. The energy readings are unlike anything in our databases. Jae-hoon looked up from his station. Captain, we're being scanned. Multiple sources. Very gentle scans, not like weapons targeting. Any response to our message? Coming in now, sir. It's that same musical language, but clearer this time. The bridge filled with sounds that were definitely not human. But unlike the desperate distress call they had received weeks ago, these sounds seemed curious and careful. Translation coming through, Yoonji reported. It says, Unknown visitors, please identify your intentions. We are surprised that anyone answered our final message. We are the Villani of the Harmony Worlds. Please state if you come in peace. Send back our standard first contact greeting, Hyunwoo ordered. Tell them we come in peace and want to help with their void swarm problem. A few minutes later, a new voice came through the speakers. This one sounded older and more formal. Visitors from the unknown ship, I am Brightsong, Elder of the Third. Harmony. We welcome you, but we must warn you. The darkness that consumes worlds approaches our system. You should leave immediately for your own safety. Tell them we're not leaving, Hyunwoo said. We came here to help. There was a long pause before Brightsong responded. Help? But do you not understand? 12 great civilizations tried to help. All were consumed by the void swarm. Their worlds are now empty darkness. We understand, Hyunwoo replied. We're going to try anyway. Another pause, even longer this time. Please, come to our primary world. We must meet face to face. Your words confuse us greatly. An hour later, the Indomitable was in orbit around the most beautiful planet any human had ever seen. The continents were covered in what looked like crystal forests that changed colors as they watched. Cities rose from the ground like living. Music made solid. Away team, Hyunwoo announced. Yunji, Junho, Dae-yun, and Woojin. We're going down to meet our new friends. The shuttle ride down to the planet's surface was like entering a dream. The Villani had guided them to a landing platform that seemed to be made of singing crystal. As they stepped out of the shuttle, they could hear music in the air, not from speakers, but from the buildings themselves. Captain, Da-in whispered, the whole city is alive. She was right. The crystal structures around them pulsed with soft light that matched the musical sounds. It was as if the entire civilization was one giant instrument being played by invisible hands. The Villani who met them were unlike anything humans had imagined. They stood about 7 feet tall and seemed to be made of the same crystal as their cities. Light moved through their bodies in patterns that might have been emotions or thoughts. When they moved, they made soft, chiming sounds. Elder Brightsong approached them slowly. When he spoke, the sounds came from inside his crystal body and somehow became words the humans could understand. Welcome, visitors from the far darkness, Brightsong said. You appear to be organic beings. We have not seen your kind before. We're humans, Hyunwoo replied. We come from a planet called Earth. We received your distress signal. Earth, Brightsong repeated, and the other Villani around them chimed in harmony. This is a world we do not know. Please come with us. We must understand why you have come when we told all to stay away. They were led through the Crystal City to a building that seemed more like a living song than a structure. Inside, dozens of Villani had gathered. Their bodies flickered with different colored lights as they saw the humans. Please, Brightsong said, explain to us your world. We must understand what kind of beings would travel so far to help strangers. Yunji stepped forward. As the science officer, she was best at explaining things. Earth is what we call a terrestrial planet. It has one star, one moon, and life developed there over billions of years. The Villani lights flickered in what might have been confusion. One star? How do your people live in such darkness? We don't think of it as dark, Yunji explained. Our sun provides enough light and heat for our world. But how do you survive? Without the harmony? What's the harmony? Junho asked. Another Villani, who introduced herself as Swift Current, answered. The harmony is everything. It is how we live, how we build, how we think. All Villani are connected through the harmony. We share thoughts and feelings through the crystal networks of our world. Da-yun, the ship's psychologist, found this fascinating. So you're all connected mentally? Of course, Swift Current replied. How else would a civilization function? How do you coordinate your activities without sharing minds? We talk to each other, Woojin said, and we write things down, and we argue a lot. The Villani lights flickered in what was definitely confusion now. You argue with each other? But that would create disharmony. Sometimes, Hyunwoo admitted. But that's how we solve problems. Different people have different ideas, and we discuss them until we find the best solution. Elder Brightsong's light patterns became very complex. This is difficult to understand. On our worlds, when we face a problem, all minds join together to find the harmonious solution. There is no arguing because all Villani share the same thoughts. Yunji was starting to understand something important. Elder Brightsong, when the Void Swarm attacked the other civilizations, how did they fight back? They used logic and careful planning, Brightsong replied. They analyzed the threat and developed the most efficient responses, just as any wise species would. And they all failed? Yes. The Void Swarm seems to anticipate every logical response. It is as if it knows what we will do before we do it. Junho grinned. Well, that's going to be a problem for this swarm thing. Why? Swift Current asked. Because humans aren't always logical. The Villani were very quiet for a long moment. Finally, Elder Brightsong spoke. Please explain this. How can intelligent beings not be logical? Da-Un laughed. Oh, you have no idea. Humans do crazy things all the time. We climb mountains just to see the view from the top. We jump out of perfectly good aircraft for fun. We race cars at dangerous speeds because it's exciting. You deliberately put yourselves in danger for enjoyment? All the time, Wu Jin confirmed. On Earth, we have something called extreme sports. People compete to see who can do the most dangerous thing and survive. The Villani lights were flashing rapidly now. But why? This makes no sense. Why would you risk harmony and safety? Because it's fun, Hyunwoo said simply, and because sometimes the dangerous choice is the right choice. Swift Current's voice became very quiet. Your world, Earth. It is a dangerous place, isn't it? Very dangerous, Yunji confirmed. We have predators that hunt us, weather that can kill us, natural disasters that destroy our cities. Earth has taught us that sometimes you have to fight to survive. A death world, Elder Brightsong whispered. You come from a death world. If that's what you want to call it, Hyunwoo said. But we call it home. The meeting continued for hours. The humans learned that Villani civilization was built entirely around cooperation and harmony. They had no wars, no conflicts, no competition. Everyone worked together for the good of all. It sounded wonderful to the humans, but also a little boring. The Villani learned that human civilization was built around controlled chaos. Humans competed with each other, argued about everything, and regularly did dangerous things just to prove they could. It sounded terrifying to the Villani, but also strangely fascinating. The Void Swarm will be here in 3 days, Elder Brightsong finally said. We have prepared our people for evacuation, but there is nowhere to run. The swarm consumes entire systems. We're not running, Hyunwoo said firmly. We're going to fight it. But 12 civilizations tried to fight it. All failed. Were any of those 12 civilizations from Deathworlds? No, Swift Current admitted. Most were from peaceful worlds like ours. Then they never had a chance, Junho said, because they fought the way they thought they should fight, logically, carefully, predictably. And humans? Elder Brightsong asked. Humans fight dirty, Woojin grinned. We fight like our lives depend on it, because they usually do. As the humans prepared to return to their ship, Elder Brightsong asked one final question. Why do you do this? Why risk your lives for strangers you have never met? Hyunwoo thought about it for a moment. Because that's what humans do. When someone calls for help, we answer. Even when it's dangerous, especially when it's dangerous. Even when it seems impossible, especially then. The shuttle ride back to the Indomitable was quiet. Back on the Indomitable, Yoonji worked through the night studying everything the Villani had shared about the Void Swarm. The data was strange and frightening. This wasn't just some alien invasion force. It was something much worse. Captain, she called out when Hyunwoo arrived on the bridge the next morning. You need to see this. The main screen showed recordings from the destroyed civilizations, world after world, consumed by something that looked like living darkness. It moved through space like a storm cloud, but it was clearly intelligent. What exactly are we looking at? Hyunwoo asked. The Villani call it the Void Swarm, Yoonji explained. But it's not really a swarm of creatures. It's more like a single massive entity made of dark matter. It can split itself into smaller pieces when it needs to, but it's all connected somehow. Taemin joined them on the bridge, carrying a cup of coffee and looking tired. I've been studying their technology reports all night. Captain, this thing doesn't just destroy planets. It does something else first. What do you mean? It feeds on them. Not on the physical matter, though it does consume that eventually. It feeds on something else. Something the Villani call life energy. Junho looked up from his tactical station. Life energy? That sounds like science fiction nonsense. That's what I thought, Yunji said. But look at this. The screen changed to show energy readings from the consumed worlds. In every case, there's a pattern. First, the readings show normal life energy, what we might call the electrical activity of living brains. Then the void swarm arrives, and those readings spike dramatically. Spike how? Hyunwoo asked. Fear, Daeun said, entering the bridge with her own cup of coffee. I've been analyzing the psychological profiles of the destroyed civilizations. The void swarm doesn't attack immediately. It surrounds a world and waits. It lets the population see what's coming. It feeds on their terror. That's... Taemin paused, looking for the right word. Evil. Deliberately causing fear before killing. It gets worse, Yunji continued. The more afraid the population becomes, the stronger the void swarm gets. Fear literally makes it more powerful, and once it's fed on all the fear it can get, then it consumes the world itself. Hyunwoo sat down heavily in his captain's chair. So every civilization that tried to fight it made it stronger, Daeun finished, because they were fighting out of desperation and terror. The more scared they became, the more powerful their enemy got. That explains why 12 advanced civilizations failed, Junho said grimly. They were literally feeding their enemy with their own fear. But there's something else, Yunji said. Something the Villani don't understand, but I think I do. She pulled up more data on the screen. Look at these attack patterns. The Void Swarm is incredibly good at predicting what its enemies will do. It anticipates logical military responses, defensive strategies, even evacuation plans. It's like it knows exactly how intelligent species will react to threats. Because it's done this before, Taemin realized. Hundreds of times, probably. It's learned how civilizations respond to existential threats. Exactly. And every civilization responds the same way. Logically, defensively, predictably. Hyunwoo was starting to understand. But humans don't always respond logically. That's our advantage, Daeun agreed. Earth taught us to respond to danger in ways that might seem crazy to other species. Sometimes we run toward threats instead of away from them. Sometimes we turn threats into games, Junho added with a grin. The discussion was interrupted by an urgent call from the communication station. Captain, Jae-hoon announced, the Villani are requesting immediate assistance. They say the Void Swarm has arrived at the edge of their system. Show me, Hyunwoo ordered. The main screen switched to long-range scanners. At the edge of the Villani system, something was blocking out the stars. It was huge, bigger than Earth's moon, and it was moving slowly but steadily toward the inner planets. How long until it reaches the Villani homeworld? Hyunwoo asked. At current speed, about 60 hours, Bo-Ra calculated. And it's not hurrying because it wants them to be afraid first, Daeun observed. Hyunwoo stood up. All right. We have 2.5 days to figure out how to fight something that has destroyed 12 civilizations. Ideas? Well, Taemin said slowly, if it feeds on fear, what happens if we're not afraid? Are you suggesting we just not be scared of a planet-eating monster? Junho asked. I'm suggesting we be human about it. Explain that, Hyunwoo said. Yunji was nodding. I think I understand. On Earth, humans don't just survive dangerous situations. We seek them out. We have entire industries built around controlled danger. Extreme sports, Daeun added. Adventure tourism, horror movies. Humans actually enjoy being scared sometimes, as long as it's the right kind of scared. The difference between terror and excitement, Hyunwoo realized. Terror paralyzes you. Excitement energizes you. But how do we turn a cosmic horror into excitement? Junho asked. This isn't a mountain to climb or a wave to surf. It's something that eats planets. Maybe that's exactly how we treat it, Taemin suggested. like the ultimate extreme sport. The crew was quiet for a moment, thinking about this idea. Finally, Hyun-woo asked, "What's the most dangerous thing humans do for fun?" "Base jumping," Woo-jin said immediately. "Jumping off cliffs with just a parachute." "Motorsports," Jae-hoon added. "Racing cars at 300 kilometers per hour." "Free solo rock climbing," Bo-ra suggested. "Climbing mountains with no safety equipment." "Combat sports," Junho said. "Fighting other humans just to see who's better." "All of those have something in common," Da-eun observed. "They're dangerous, but the danger is what makes them exciting. People don't do them despite the risk. They do them because of the risk." "So, how do we make fighting the Void Swarm feel like an extreme sport instead of a suicide mission?" Hyun-woo asked. Yoonji was working at her station again. "Maybe we start by studying how it reacts to different emotions. We know it feeds on fear. But what happens if it encounters other emotions?" "The Villani emotional spectrum is limited," Da-eun said. "They experience harmony, disharmony, curiosity, and fear. That's about it. They don't have human emotions like excitement, competitiveness, or joy in challenge." "So the Void Swarm has never encountered those emotions," Taemin realized. "It might not even know how to process them," Yoonji added. Hyun-woo was forming a plan. "We need to get closer to that thing. We need to study it directly." "Captain," Junho said carefully, "that sounds incredibly dangerous." "Good," Hyun-woo replied with a grin. "If it wasn't dangerous, it wouldn't be worth doing." 3 hours later, the Indomitable was flying toward the edge of the Villani system. The Void Swarm was even more terrifying up close. It wasn't just darkness. It was the complete absence of everything. Where it passed, stars went out. Space itself seemed to bend and twist. "Energy readings are off the charts," Yoonji reported. "This thing is massive. It's like a living black hole, but it's clearly intelligent." "Are we getting the emotional readings Da-eun wanted?" Hyun-woo asked. "Yes, sir," Da-eun replied, studying her instruments. "It's definitely feeding on something. The energy signatures match the patterns we saw in the historical data. But, Captain, there's something else." "What?" "It's curious about us. I'm detecting what might be confusion in its energy patterns. It's not used to ships approaching it voluntarily." "Most species probably try to run away," Taemin observed. "Or attack from a distance," Junho added. "But we're flying right toward it like we want to shake hands," Hyun-woo said. "That's got to be a new experience for it." Suddenly, alarms started ringing throughout the ship. "It's scanning us," Yoonji announced. "Some kind of energy probe." "Is it dangerous?" Hyun-woo asked. "I don't think so. It feels more like curiosity. It's trying to figure out what we are," Da-eun realized. "And more importantly, it's trying to figure out what we're feeling." "And what are we feeling?" Hyun-woo asked his crew. "Excited," Taemin admitted. "Curious," Yoonji added. "Ready for a fight," Junho said with satisfaction. "Exactly," Hyun-woo said. "We're not afraid. We're not desperate. We're interested in this thing. We want to see what it can do." "Captain," Da-eun said urgently, "its energy patterns are changing. I think it's confused. Really confused." "Good," Hyun-woo replied. "Confusion is better than confidence. Take us closer." "Sir, that might not be wise," Junho warned. "Officer Junho, in your opinion, would a wise person have volunteered for this mission?" Junho thought about it. "No, sir, probably not." "Then let's not start being wise now." As the Indomitable moved closer to the Void Swarm, something unprecedented happened. The massive entity, which had consumed 12 civilizations without hesitation, stopped moving toward the Villani homeworld. For the first time in its existence, it encountered prey that wasn't afraid of it. It didn't know what to do with that information. "Captain," Yoonji said in amazement, "I think we just made a cosmic horror have second thoughts." "That's a start," Hyun-woo replied. "Now let's see if we can make it have third and fourth thoughts, too." The Void Swarm had stopped moving, floating in space like a massive storm cloud that couldn't decide which way to go. On the bridge of the Indomitable, the crew watched their instruments with growing excitement. "It's been stationary for 12 hours now," Yoonji reported. "This is the longest any recorded encounter shows it hesitating before attacking." "What's it doing?" Hyun-woo asked. "Near as I can tell, it's trying to figure us out. The energy scans are getting more complex, more detailed. It's like it's running tests on us. Da-Yun looked up from her psychological monitoring equipment. Captain, I think it's trying to make us afraid. Watch these readings. The screen showed waves of energy washing over their ship. Each wave was different, but they all had the same purpose, to trigger fear responses in the crew. Is it working? Hyun-woo asked. Not the way it expects, Da-Un replied with a grin. Look at Junho's readings when that last wave hit. My adrenaline spiked, Junho confirmed, but not from fear, from excitement. This thing is actually trying to scare us, and it's kind of fun watching it fail. That's not the response it's looking for, Taemin observed. It wants terror, not entertainment. Hyun-woo activated the ship's communications system. This is Captain Hyun-woo to all crew. We're about to try something that has never been attempted before. We're going to turn a cosmic threat into a human challenge. He paused, looking around. The bridge at his crew. They were all watching him with eager expressions. These were people who had volunteered for the most dangerous mission in human history, and they were loving every minute of it. Taemin, I want you to work with the Volani engineers. We're going to modify their harmony technology. Modify it how, Captain? We're going to make it chaotic. Instead of perfect harmony, we want controlled discord. Think of it like jazz. Music instead of classical. That should be interesting, Taemin said, already thinking about the technical challenges. The Volani aren't going to understand why we want to break their technology. Then we'll teach them, Hyun-woo decided. Junho, I want you to set up combat training sessions with any Volani volunteers. Show them how humans fight. Sir, they're peaceful crystal beings. They don't even understand the concept of violence. Then it's time they learned, not to become violent, but to understand that sometimes you have to fight for what you believe in. And Yoonji, Hyun-woo continued, I want you to start broadcasting human entertainment throughout the system. What kind of entertainment, Captain? The kind that shows how humans deal with danger. Action movies, extreme sports videos, comedy shows about people doing stupid, dangerous things. I want that void swarm to see exactly what kind of species it's dealing with. Captain, Da-Yun said slowly, that's either brilliant or completely insane. On Earth, those are often the same thing. The next 24 hours were unlike anything the Volani had ever experienced. Human engineers worked alongside crystal beings to modify harmony generators, turning perfect musical instruments into devices that could create controlled chaos. The Volani found this deeply disturbing at first. You are breaking the harmony, Swift Current complained to Taemin as they worked on a resonance amplifier. This device is meant to create perfect balance. Perfect balance is predictable, Taemin explained. And predictable is what the Void Swarm expects. We need to be unpredictable. But why? Why choose chaos over harmony? Because sometimes chaos is more beautiful than harmony, Taemin said, connecting a human randomization circuit to the Volani device. Listen to this. He activated the modified amplifier. Instead of the pure, perfect tones the Volani were used to, it produced something that sounded like jazz music mixed with rock and roll. The notes were unexpected, sometimes discordant, but they created a pattern that was strangely compelling. Swift Current's crystal body flickered with colors that had never appeared before. This is different, Taemin finished. Different is good. Different is what humans do best. Meanwhile, Junho was having his own challenges teaching Volani volunteers about human combat techniques. The crystal beings had no experience with physical conflict, and their bodies weren't designed for fighting. The point isn't to hurt your opponent, Junho explained to a group of confused Volani. The point is to overcome challenges through strength, skill, and determination. But why would anyone want to overcome others? Asked a Volani called Gentle Rain. Not overcome others, Junho corrected. Overcome obstacles. In human martial arts, your greatest opponent is often yourself, your own fear, your own limitations. I do not understand. Junho thought for a moment, then had an idea. Watch this. He set up a series of obstacles, boxes to jump over, poles to crawl under, targets to hit with precision. Then he ran through the course as fast as he could, completing it in just under 2 minutes. Now I'm going to do it again, he announced. But this time, I'm going to try to beat my own time. The Villani watched in fascination as Jun-Ho pushed himself harder, moving faster, taking more risks. He finished the course in 90 seconds, breathing hard but grinning with satisfaction. "You competed against yourself," Gentle Rain observed in wonder. "Exactly. Humans are always trying to be better than we were yesterday. We challenge ourselves because challenge makes us stronger. And this will help us fight the Void Swarm. It will help us not be afraid of the Void Swarm," Jun-Ho corrected. "Fear is what it feeds on. But if we can turn the encounter into a challenge instead of a threat, maybe it won't be able to feed on us." The most interesting results came from Yunji's broadcasting project. She had filled the Villani communication networks with human entertainment, and the effect on both species was remarkable. The Villani were horrified and fascinated by human action movies. The idea that people would voluntarily put themselves in danger for entertainment was completely alien to them, but they couldn't stop watching. "These humans throw themselves from great heights attached only to elastic cords," Elder Brightsong observed, watching a bungee jumping video. "And they appear to be enjoying it?" "It's called an adrenaline rush," Yunji explained. "Humans get pleasure from controlled danger. The fear response that other species try to avoid, we've learned to enjoy." "This is madness." "Yes," Yunji agreed cheerfully. "But it's human madness, and that's what makes us unpredictable." The Void Swarm was receiving these broadcasts too, and its confusion was growing. Never before had it encountered a species that treated danger as entertainment. The energy patterns it was detecting from the human ship and the Villani worlds were unlike anything in its vast experience. Instead of the rising terror it expected, it was sensing excitement, curiosity, and something it had never encountered before: anticipation. These strange organic beings weren't just unafraid of it. They seemed to be looking forward to meeting it. This was problematic for a creature that had spent eons feeding on fear. "Captain," Da-Un announced, "I'm detecting significant changes in the Void Swarm's energy patterns. I think it's frustrated." "Frustrated how?" "It keeps trying different fear-inducing techniques, but none of them are working the way they should. It's like a predator that's never encountered prey that fights back." "More than that," Yunji added. "It's like a predator that's never encountered prey that's excited about being hunted." Hyun-Woo studied the readings on his screen. The Void Swarm was still massive, still dangerous, but it was no longer moving with the confident purpose it had shown when approaching other worlds. It was hesitating, reconsidering, trying to understand what it was dealing with. "How long until it reaches the Villani homeworld at its current speed?" he asked. "It's actually moved farther away," Bo-Ra reported. "It's maintaining distance while it studies us." "Good. That gives us more time to prepare." "Any word from the volunteers?" "Better than expected," Jun-Ho replied. "Some of the Villani are actually starting to understand the concept of competitive challenge." Gentle Rain asked if she could try the obstacle course. "And the Harmony Modification Project?" "Coming along well," Taemin reported. "We've created several devices that can generate controlled chaos, random patterns, unexpected frequencies, discordant but compelling sounds. The Villani are calling it beautiful noise." "Perfect. It's time for Phase 2 of our plan." "What's Phase 2? Da-Un asked. Hyun-Woo grinned. "We invite the Void Swarm to play." "Play?" several crew members said at once. "Think about it," Hyun-Woo explained. "This thing has spent who knows how long consuming terrified civilizations. It's used to easy prey that runs away or fights desperately. But what if we treat it like a worthy opponent instead of a cosmic horror?" "You want to challenge it to a contest?" Jun-Ho asked. "I want to challenge it to the ultimate extreme sport, the most dangerous game humans have ever played, which is survival." Hyun-Woo activated the ship's long-range communications. "Attention, Void Swarm. This is Captain Hyun-Woo of the human vessel Indomitable. We know you can understand us. We have a proposition for you." The bridge was silent except for the hum of electronics. Then, for the first time in recorded history, the Void Swarm responded directly to one of its intended victims. The voice that came through the speakers was like the sound of dying stars, ancient and terrible and utterly alien. But the words were clear. "Speak, small beings. Your thoughts are strange to us. You do not fear as others fear. The bridge of the Indomitable was completely quiet. Every crew member stared at the speakers, hardly believing that the void swarm was actually talking to them. In all the records of destroyed civilizations, none had mentioned the creature communicating directly with its victims. "You want an explanation?" Hyun-woo replied to the ancient voice. "Here it is. You've spent eons consuming civilizations that were afraid of you, but fear makes prey weak and predictable. We're offering you something different. What do you offer?" A real challenge. You see, humans don't just survive dangerous situations. We compete in them. We turn threats into games. And the more dangerous the game, the more we enjoy it. The void swarm was silent for several minutes. When it spoke again, its voice carried confusion and something that might have been interest. "You wish to play with death itself?" "We wish to see if the great void swarm is as unstoppable as it claims," Junho interrupted, unable to contain his excitement. 12 civilizations fell to you, but they were all logical, predictable species. You've never faced Deathworlders before. Deathworlders? Beings from a planet where survival requires constant adaptation, creativity, and the willingness to take insane risks, Yoonji explained. Earth taught us that sometimes the impossible choice is the only choice. Da-un monitored her instruments as the conversation continued. "Captain, its energy patterns are completely different now. The confusion has been replaced by something I've never seen before in our readings." "What?" I think it's curious. Actually curious. For the first time in its existence, it's encountered something it doesn't understand," Taemin called up from the engine room. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy fluctuations from the void swarm. It's changing somehow." "Changing how?" "It's consolidating. Instead of the diffuse cloud pattern it's maintained for days, it's pulling itself together into a more compact form." On the main screen, they could see the transformation happening. The enormous dark cloud was shrinking, becoming denser, more focused. It was still huge, larger than most asteroids, but it no longer looked like a cosmic storm. It looked like a creature preparing for a confrontation. "Humans of Earth," the void swarm spoke again. "You propose a contest between your species and ourselves. What are the terms of this game?" Hyun-woo smiled. This was the moment he had been preparing for. "Simple rules. You try to consume our worlds using whatever methods you choose. We try to stop you using whatever methods we choose. No tricks, no deception, just skill against skill. And what does the victor gain? If you win, you consume everything as planned. If we win..." Hyun-woo paused, realizing he hadn't thought this part through completely. "If we win, you find another way to sustain yourself. One that doesn't require destroying entire civilizations. You believe you can defeat us? We believe we can surprise you. And on Earth, surprising your opponent is often the same as defeating them." The Villani had been monitoring the conversation from their homeworld, and Elder Brightsong's voice came through the communication system. "Humans, what you propose is beyond madness. This entity has consumed 12 advanced civilizations." "Elder Brightsong," Hyun-woo replied. "Were any of those 12 civilizations having fun when they fought?" "Fun. They were fighting for their survival." "Exactly. They were desperate, terrified, logical. We're going to be something this void swarm has never encountered before. We're going to enjoy ourselves." Swift Current's voice joined the conversation. "I do not understand how one enjoys mortal combat with a cosmic force." "Then it's time you learned," Junho replied. "Who wants to volunteer for the first human Villani extreme sports team?" To everyone's surprise, several Villani voices responded immediately. The past 2 days of exposure to human culture had awakened something in the peaceful crystal beings, a desire to test themselves against challenges. "I will try," Gentle Rain announced. "This concept of competitive challenge, it creates new harmonies in my thoughts." "Me as well," said another Villani called Bright Current. "I wish to understand what humans call adrenaline rush." The void swarm observed these exchanges with growing bewilderment. In all its eons of existence, it had never seen potential victims eagerly volunteering to face it. The emotional energy it was detecting was completely unlike the fear it usually fed on. "Very well," the ancient entity finally said. We accept your challenge, humans of Earth, but know that we have never been defeated. We are the end of all things. And we're the species that doesn't know when to quit, Yunwu replied cheerfully. This should be interesting. What followed was the strangest battle in galactic history. Instead of the desperate, frightened resistance the Void Swarm expected, it encountered something unprecedented. An enemy that treated the fight like the ultimate sport. Junho led fighter squadrons that whooped with joy as they dodged the swarms' attacks, calling out scores as they landed hits on the creature's appendages. "That's a perfect 10 for style," he shouted over the comm as Jin-A performed an impossible spiral maneuver through a field of dark energy. "New personal record," Jin-A replied, laughing as she fired weapons at targets that would have terrified any rational pilot. "This thing is actually fun to fight." On the Indomitable, Taemin had jury-rigged the ship's engines to perform maneuvers that violated several laws of physics and definitely violated all safety regulations. "Captain, I can give you a 40% increase in acceleration, but there's a 30% chance the engines will explode." "Do it," Yunwu ordered. "Explosive acceleration sounds like exactly what we need right now." The Villani volunteers had joined the fight in their crystal ships, and their participation was perhaps the most disturbing development from the Void Swarm's perspective. These beings, who had never known conflict, were learning to enjoy it. "This is exhilarating," Gentle Rain transmitted as her ship danced through a barrage of dark energy. "I understand now why humans seek out danger." Even more confusing for the Void Swarm was the humans' treatment of the battle as a learning experience. Instead of becoming more desperate as the fight continued, they became more excited. "Yun-Ji, did you see how it adapted to our last attack pattern?" Hyunwoo called out as he piloted the Indomitable through a cloud of hostile entities. "Fascinating," Yun-Ji replied. "It's like a massive, intelligent organism that can rewrite its own biology in real time. The research possibilities are incredible." "Can we get some samples?" Da-Un asked. "I'd love to study its psychological responses to different emotional stimuli." The Void Swarm found itself in a completely unprecedented situation. Its enemies were not only unafraid, they were actively studying it during combat. They were learning from every exchange, adapting their tactics, and worst of all, they were clearly having the time of their lives. This was not how cosmic horror was supposed to work. The turning point came when Chan Wu led a boarding party onto one of the swarm's larger appendages. Instead of the desperate infiltration missions the entity was used to, this felt more like an extreme sports expedition. "Wu Jin, you've got to try this," Chan Wu called out as he rappelled down what might have been the creature's equivalent of a blood vessel. "It's like cave diving, but the cave is trying to digest you." "That does sound fun," Wu Jin replied, following his teammate into the impossible depths of a living cosmic entity. Inside the Void Swarm, they discovered something that changed everything. The creature wasn't just one entity, it was thousands of smaller beings that had been consumed and absorbed over the eons. But instead of being destroyed, they had been preserved, trapped in a state of eternal terror that fed the larger organism. "Captain," Chan Wu transmitted back to the ship, "you need to see this. This thing isn't just consuming civilizations, it's keeping them alive inside itself, feeding on their fear forever." The discovery sparked something in the humans that the Void Swarm had never encountered before. Righteous anger combined with competitive determination. "Oh, that's not acceptable," Hyunwoo said, his voice carrying a dangerous calm. "Nobody gets to torture people forever. Not on our watch. Time to show this thing why you don't mess with humans," Junho added grimly. But instead of becoming desperate or vengeful, the humans channeled their anger into what they did best, turning an impossible situation into a game they could win. Hay won. The ship's xenopsychologist made the breakthrough. "Captain, what if we could teach the absorbed civilizations to stop being afraid?" "How?" "The same way we taught the Villani. Show them that danger can be exciting instead of terrifying." The solution was beautifully, insanely human. Using the modified Villani Harmony technology, they began broadcasting human entertainment and competitive spirit directly into the Void Swarm's core. Action movies, extreme sports, comedy shows, and most importantly, the simple human concept that challenges were meant to be enjoyed, not endured. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. for the Void Swarm. Thousands of absorbed civilizations suddenly began experiencing emotions they had never felt before. Instead of endless terror, they felt curiosity, excitement, even joy. The Void Swarm's feeding mechanisms, evolved over eons to process fear, began to malfunction. It had no idea how to handle victims who were no longer afraid. What are you doing to us?" The entity's voice carried panic for the first time.